Hello, how's it going, everybody? And welcome to the Business Origin Story podcast. I'm your host, Drew Mitchell. And today with me is Suriel, and he is the owner of Oscuro Creations here. And why don't you go ahead and take the floor and introduce yourself?
So, okay, my name is Suriel. Oscuro Creations is my company. We create content for events, also engagements. I do a part of too, but mostly focus on events and also building your online presence through social media with high quality content. I've been in Las Vegas since I was 3 years old. I've been in the media world since I was like literally since I was a kid, and that's what my creativity grew up when I was a kid and everything like that.
So, what inspired you? I know you've been doing your business since 2019, but what inspired you to get started with your business?
What really inspired me? Once I was in the financial service industry for 3 years, since like 19 to like 21 years old, I wanted to literally start creating content for other people and other businesses. So I started literally with my iPhone 6, just taking photos and videos back then, charging like $50 back then. And then I was like, you know what, I can make money off of this. And then I hired a photographer back then because I was like, oh, wow, I'll get my camera, let me hire a photographer. Because I was in sales since I was a kid, grew up in sales because my parents did a lot of sales, direct selling. And then throughout the years, I was like, oh, what if I start implementing like uh, doing content for businesses? Because I knew back then when I was 2019, when I left the insurance industry, I was like, you know what, the creator economy is going to keep on growing more and more. Back then, the tension, that's when I started realizing, like, you know what, I'm going to stay in this niche because I know this niche is going to grow more and more eventually.
I feel like that's kind of like part of the course, it's like you kind of start and kind of figure
Yeah,
out what your niche is and
yeah.
you just learn by doing and and sometimes it's like you look back at your old client projects and you're like, oh, but that's how you learn.
I wasn't scared of failing because most people when they're starting a company or starting something, they're scared to fail. But it's part of being successful in life. The
Yeah.
mistakes, the failure. But I had to figure it out throughout the time when I was doing this. I wasn't scared. I was like, I don't care if I fail multiple times. I've done so many projects at my younger age. Like I wasn't scared of fail. I think it's important to not be scared of failing. That's part of life. We don't learn, we don't take growth, and
No.
we don't learn from these mistakes. We're not going to grow to the next level in our life.
I was gonna ask you, okay, so you went into how you got started. So what was like the biggest challenges you faced in the early stages, starting your business?
And man, in my early stages was just trying to figure out like what to charge at the beginning. Like oh, what if I like people were like, oh, you're charging 150 just recording with an iPhone. A lot of people were like, what are you charging me so much? You only have a camera here. And I was like, whoa, like I was like, well, at the beginning I was charging $50. Then I started getting more and more clients. I was like, oh, I guess I pumping up the price. And I remember one client I worked with, he's like, why are you charging me so much? You're just recording with your iPhone. I was like, whoa, I'm like, well, this is what I do. And that was the challenge at the beginning because they're like, why you were charging me 150 or to 120? That back then you're like, you're just recording an iPhone. And I was like, at the beginning that was kind of hard. I was like, you know what, I cannot let it stop me. Then eventually I got a camera. I knew that wasn't gonna be easy, like hard, but the gear at the beginning was kind of like, what are you charging me so much? Just
Yeah.
record an
Yeah.
back then iPhone 6 wasn't high quality as we have iPhone right now.
That is
Um,
true. I filmed some stuff with the iPhone 6, so I back in the
yeah,
day for clients, so I 100%.
yeah. So back then, I was like, I didn't pay attention to that because I'm just just trying to build people's presence online. And I'm bilingual, so we're for Hispanic and English people. So that was like the most thing in the Hispanic community because I work with both communities, English and Spanish. I work with everybody. But I noticed the Hispanic community, like they're like, oh, I don't know how to make content, and then I position
Mm.
myself in the Hispanic community as a content creator expert. So that's the thing I learned throughout the time. Back then, when I was starting, build the relationships that I had in the past. And when I left the other industry, I already had those relationships. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing something new. Like, I'll build your social media presence on. And people are like, oh, yeah, how much do you charge? I'm like, oh, yeah, just like 80, 50 back then. That was like, back then. Yeah. But that's why I started to make it happen back then, no matter what.
Yeah, and that's really smart because I know a lot of people who run different video businesses. They don't kind of go deep with their clients. They just try and get a ton of clients rather than just
Yeah.
building the relationships. And so they're going to client to client to client. So that was really smart of you to just build those relationships over time, and then you just would improve and get more gear. So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. At the beginning, I was like, I already have the trust. They already trust me. They already like me. Like the only thing, eventually, I'll upgrade throughout the time, and I knew throughout the time they were still gonna come back. Because at the end, I'm not very like transactional. I'm very more relationship. Like anyone I meet, I'm like, yeah, I do photography, videography. I explain everything that I do. But I'm like, just see my social media. Then I show them my social media, like, oh yeah. I'm like, I actually want to follow you. Then I was like, I want to connect with you. I'm like, I love working with other creators, see how they work. Everybody has different styles, and I like to learn different styles. Doesn't mean I'm gonna copy it, but I like to learn every style because everybody has different styles. We all do everything different.
Yeah, and that's really how you can expand your service offerings too, is just by learning
Yeah,
how different creators do things. And I mean, I went through that thing when I started my business, which is interesting because I started my business. I've been doing freelance videography for like 16 years, but I started my
yeah.
business in 2019. And yeah, it was just like so many mistakes and things that I made. But it's like one of those things where my attitude now is, it's like, you just have to let it unfold and not put pressure on yourself to have it figured out by a certain date because that'll mess you up.
Like I said, like I used to suck, like really suck, like really bad back then. And I was like, nah, I suck less. Because it's part of like, oh, I made those mistakes at my young age. But I think that's part of the process. I think you need to become really successful, become a big global brand, becoming like building $1 billion company. It takes a lot of mistakes, and like everybody wants it super easy. Everybody wants to get rich easy. That's part of being like uh starting your own company, starting something. Doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'm curious, how did you go from using your name to coming up with the name for your company? You mentioned it means shadows in
Dark
Spanish.
creation,
So
dark
yeah,
creation.
yeah.
Well, at the beginning, I was just like freelance, like you, like every content creator. I was a freelance, when I was gonna, at the beginning, I was just like, I was like, am I gonna like literally gonna do something? I'm not gonna like get this dope ass name, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna change it in a year. No, so I sit down with a friend, and she's like, what do you wear a lot? I'm like, I wear black. I was like, he's like, I wear black all the time. He's like, whoa, why don't you like? What if you were like? What if you were to name it Oscuro Creations? I was like, it actually kind of sounds legit because I'm like, what? I don't want Las Vegas something. I don't want a Vegas
Right.
creation. There's so many Vegas stuff. I was like, I want
Oh,
something
there
very
is.
unique, something that's gonna make me stand out. So I was like, okay, we thought about this name, and I was like, what? I'm gonna start making this dope ass logo. So we started making this dope ass logo with a friend of mine. And then she's like, "Oh, this actually sounds legit." I'm like, "Yeah, actually, it does sound legit." At the beginning, in the Hispanic community, they were like, "Man, why you think?" At the beginning, the people didn't take it like very, very like they accepted it at the beginning. They didn't accept it, and then okay, I was like, throughout the time now they accept it, but at the beginning, a couple years ago, they're like, are you hiding something?" I'm like, "No, you know, like I'm not hiding nothing."
Yeah. That's cool though. That's cool that you
Yeah,
came up with it. You just kind of have to. I find that when you are coming to the brand, it's like, those things really help. Things that you're already doing or wearing,
yeah,
or because that's all part of your brand. And because
yeah,
you're your brand.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're the brand, and you're the content. And that's what when I work with people, I tell people, I'm like, hey, just every single time you wake up, you have content. When you're doing meetings, that's content. When you're doing like stuff, that's content. Like everything's literally content. Like you know, um, you know, like
It really
in life,
is.
everything's content. Since we wake up, no matter like you know You're like, I don't even know what to post. Like, I think we make it so complicated in ourselves.
I'm
That,
curious, how did you transition from business owners to getting into the conferences? Was it through a connection, or how did you do that?
yeah, it was a relationship, and it was relationships that I built throughout the time, throughout the years. And like those relations that I maintained when I was younger, like from 2017, 2018, the people that knew me back then, I
Mm,
maintained the relationships. Even to this day, my mentors who were like, who mentored me when I was 14, 15, 16, I still call them like, and now like they're like, oh, I want to work with you. So that's the important thing that I believe in the relationship. That's what I mentioned earlier. Not burning down the bridges. Because anybody who's hearing or somebody's gonna say, oh, something that I didn't get along with this person. Like, okay,
right.
you never know. Like, if you burn that bridge, it's gonna mess up your future project in the future.
Yeah.
Like, like you never know that connection in the years. Whatever happened, but whatever. But then, like, you never know that that person could refer you one person, and one connection could lead to multiple handshakes could change your life. And
Yeah.
I always preach and I always believe you're always one connection away from changing your life. Just like your one video you post every day on social media to change your life. You're one handshake in your business every day to change your life. Anyone you meet every day, literally, you never know. They could take you to $1 million, to 12 million, to $1 billion. Like, you never know. You don't need a lot of people. You just need one handshake that could change your entire business for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I notice with other video business owners, right? Yeah, I struggled with this too in the very beginning, where it's hard with certain difficult clients not to take that
Yeah,
personal. And then if you take it personal, though, the problem is you can end up burning that bridge. So it's that's why it's so important. I feel like to not take things personal and just be like, okay, maybe it's just this one project we don't vibe with, and you just end things kind of professionally, and then let time pass, and then
yeah,
you never know when you reach back it could work.
yeah. And then doing business is like dating, like when do it's exactly like dating. When a girl, you ask a girl, your wife out, or anyone, it's like marketing. She's gonna say yes or no. Branding is when she says yes. It's the same thing. When it comes to marketing, or like building a brand. When it's like when you're taking out, it's like when you're dating someone. You're not gonna go you're not gonna marry someone you meet literally like in downtown or at the strip.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna go with them like, oh yeah, I'm gonna marry this person. This person is the one. It's the same thing in business. It's first you gotta give value, and then just bring value, just like build a relationship, and then eventually people just see your content, see your posting every day. They're like, oh damn, you are like I say people shouldn't say I'm not busy. You should say you are busy. Like it doesn't matter if you're not busy. But like, at the beginning I was making those mistakes. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not busy. And then I was like, if I shouldn't show I was busy, people were like, oh dang, but that's how it is in the business world. You learn from the mistakes in life, in the business world too.
Oh, and then by the way, I wanted to ask you really quick, how do you stay motivated and excited in your business? What keeps you moving forward in your business?
Like I'm always shooting my camera, always having my camera always. But the thing keeps me motivated, and like it's like, right now I'm 26. I'm about to be 27, but like I already see myself like the version of me when I'm 35. I'm super excited to see how I'm gonna be the version at age 35, the version of me when I'm 40, the version of me when I'm 50. If I'm already like I made it to where I'm at right now, and it feels like a lot, but it's not a lot for me. Like I'm super like I always see myself like when I was 14, I saw myself speaking in front of people, and I was already doing that because my parents were like, "Oh, start practicing in front of people. You can learn
Mm.
speaking." And I told my dad, one day I'm gonna be speaking in front of people, and then that was like when I was a kid. So my dad would always give me the opportunity to be in front of people and practice my speaking. And I told my dad, one day I'm gonna be giving conferences, not just in Vegas but around the world. I was like, then, it's something that I believed in. And then, now it's starting to happen more and more. So it's something that there's a lot of stuff when I was younger. I wrote it down, and I was like, I wrote it down, but also I look at it. I was like, okay, it's time to take full action. On my phone, I built like a vision board to put my phone so I see it all the time. Because
Nice.
I see my vision like I don't see where I'm at. I don't see myself as a small creator or a small person. I see myself like I'm already a bigger person. Because
Yeah.
that's my mindset, like it's like you're gonna like if you have a small like if you think small, you're gonna achieve small. But if you have a bigger mindset, you're still the same. You know, you want to achieve bigger things, you just go for all big. It doesn't matter. And when I was younger, like there's so many things that I wrote, and I was like, you know what, I'm willing to make this happen no matter what. And I always believed it. The thing that drives me all the time is when people tell me I can't do it, and I'm like, okay, like don't tell me I can't do it, but that drives me because like like okay, you tell me I can't do it, and I don't have to prove it to you. I have to prove it to myself. So I always told myself the competition though it's me against me. But what drives me
Yeah.
is my my vision is my vision when I'm like 40, 50. I already see myself way bigger levels than I already am right now.
Like having a vision board or something like that, and journaling, or those
Yeah,
things are really important because it keeps you thinking about, oh yeah, this is doable. And then just kind of speaking for myself, when I started, it just seems
yeah,
so
yeah.
far away, these goals. But the more you
Hmm.
journal, the more you visualize and have a vision board, you're like, you know what, like this is actually more achievable than I think. And
Yeah,
so
and
you
just
really are you are really fighting against yourself.
yeah, and just take massive, massive action. Like hardcore action. It doesn't matter if you're 9 to 5. If you're a creator, just like trying to start in the creator economy. You like just you say you work a 9 to 5, but
Yeah.
you're like I don't have time. But you do have time. Work from 6 to 9, then 9 to 10. You can make so much money throughout the time. But now with more experience, more
Mm.
wisdom, more mentorship that I have, I've gotten people with different people that I met that mentor me, have guided me to where I'm at. And I'm grateful for the mentors that I have. And also that's also one of the key points as a creator or a business owner or as a video creator. Having a mentor, it doesn't matter if they don't do videography or content creation. It could be someone else or in a different industry. You know, like if you want to become an investor, you like learn from an investor. Like or you
Yeah.
want to become, like build relationships online. Um, Go to network events. Always take out your camera when you're anywhere. Like you never
Yeah.
know. Like this last time I took out my camera, people were like boom, boom. We're like, what's your social media? Boom, boom, like that. So you always got to be like talking about your business all the time, making content about your business, some
Yeah.
behind the scenes for your business. Like everything is content. Like as a creator, we should be creating all the time, 24/7. You know, like
Yeah.
but that's what I say. Like and just don't be afraid. To post online. It doesn't matter if people are gonna judge you. People are still gonna judge regardless if you're not posting or not. Like look, I say just don't be afraid. Just go all in.
That's a really good point that you made. Is it's about more about putting in the reps and not really worrying what people think, and just putting in the reps,
Yeah,
and just putting, and then by being having that consistency, that's what gets you noticed by people. And I wanted to ask you, just to kind of transition out, but before we wrap out of here, I have a couple final questions. And that is,
yeah.
so one of them is, what is your goals for the future with your production company?
Well, my goal, like, is just able to just keep on running the company, and my ultimate goal is to become an investor, like literally, I'm just, and I also have my media company, but I'll just be just running it, and that's literally, I'll still keep on shooting, but very little, by the next couple 5 to 10 years. But my ultimate goal is to become an investor, like and just like buy
Yeah.
businesses that already like they're still like left behind, like and then like grow them with content creation and technology. Like literally, that's my goal for my production company. Like training multiple photographers. So little by little, I just mentoring and directing. Like literally my thing, and just mentor people. I love mentoring people. I love helping people. having that clarity in your brand and your social media. Like I love doing that mentoring. Like I mentor two photographers, one of my friends. We grew up
Yeah.
together, and then he's like, man, I want to get into photography. Can you help me? I'm like, yeah, just shoot for me for my events when I'm speaking. And so I help him behind the scenes content. And he got his first gig, and he's like, man, I was like, I never knew you can make so much, you can make money off of this. I'm like, don't worry, I'll teach you all the techniques and the strategies. So, so I'm very grateful for to be able to teach more people like that. Someone else, also I'm teaching her too. She wants to learn photography, so I went with her in the field too. Teach her how to shoot, and then now I just start teaching people what I learned throughout the years. Because I'm like, as a leader, you should be creating more leaders. Because as that's what I
Yeah.
believe. As a leader, we still keep climbing the mountain over and over. The mountain doesn't stop. As leaders, we still keep growing as a person, but also the success just keeps on growing more and more. And he's able to just have more success stories that are, just like someone inspired me um, to get into this world when I was 14. Now I just want to be able to duplicate, and so when I leave, and like have this big legacy. Not only
Mm.
Suriel just helped me for content photography, videography, but he created more creators, and that's my legacy to build that legacy too. Next couple of years. Mhm.
That's beautiful. Yeah, yeah. That's that is really cool that you that philosophy that you have. You're a leader and you want to make more leaders because
Yeah,
that's really the best way to I feel to build a team and to
yeah,
build a really good production company because it's just when you build a team of different leaders
hmm,
then you can just not leave them to their own devices, but you can let them do their own thing and trust that they got it and trust that they know what they're doing because you train them. And whereas if you're just if you don't have that approach, it's just
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, they'll be coming up to you and they're gonna be like, oh, what do I do here? What do I do this? And but if you give them that agency to figure out problems on their own and to empower
yeah,
them to be a leader, then they come up with
yeah.
their own creative solutions, which is awesome.
No, yeah, and that's what I love to do. And is these people that I'm mentoring, like he's a friend of mine. We go back from 2009 that we know each other. He's like he called me recently. He's like, man, like, how can I get back to photography? He had his camera there in his room. I was like, man, don't leave it dusting. There's so much, like, this camera could take you to so many places. Like, and I told him that camera could take you so many places. So, what inspired him when he saw my social media that I to go, went to go cover WolfCon with Brian Pineda. That's when he's like, man, like, how can I get into photography? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
come for me my events when I'm speaking at. And that's when he's like, now he's like, hey, well, like, tell me what else do you need? Like, want me to follow you, take photos? Like, I'm like, yeah, yeah, just follow me. I'm super grateful that I'm building more people because that's what I love to do. People are like, oh, I don't want to share my knowledge. I'm like, well, why are you afraid of that? Like,
Yeah.
the more you give, the more you receive.
Yeah, my final question to you before we wrap on out of here is where can people find you online? What's the best way to get in touch with you? People want to learn more.
Yeah, my Instagram handles are Suriel Cruz on Facebook, and then Suriel Cruz on LinkedIn, Suriel Cruz Salcedo official on Instagram, and all my platforms are like all my platforms everything is all Suriel Cruz. That's where you're gonna find me, everywhere. And then you can message me, we could book a session, we could book a call or anything. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. I really appreciate it. It's awesome to dive deep and learn more about your production company and how you got started and all that jazz. I really appreciate you coming on.
No, Dan, thank you, man. Thank you for having me. It's a huge honor being here in your
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for tuning in and checking out this episode. And you guys, thanks for watching and stay classy.